Hi there, and welcome to my ECS 210 final reflection. I'm going to be presenting my story through Screen-O-Matic. I'll be going through some of the photos, Twitter, and blog that have helped me along my way of becoming a future educator and a curriculum developer through the ECS 210 course. Now, with that being said, my name is Peyton Fraser. Now, before entering ECS 210, I would have greeted myself in the following way. My name is Peyton. I love hockey more than most people. Teaching and coaching are a passion of mine. I have a strange addiction to superhero comics and movies, and I spend a great amount of time outdoors fishing, hiking, snowshoeing, or just hanging out by a lake. Although these facts about myself are true, the only way someone will know that about me is by getting to know me. On the outside, my perception to others is very much different. In other words, I epitomize the majority of Canadian society. I am a white, middle-class male who comes from Anglo-Saxon heritage who possesses a little meat on the bones, meaning I am not starving and I am doing okay. Often, people feel guilty about being part of this majority that has marginalized and oppressed so many people, but I don't think guilt is going to change anything. I'm proud of my heritage and where I come from. I'm so proud of the people who made me the man I am today that I tattooed the Fraser clan quote on my arm. Je suis prêt means I am ready in French. With that, I am ready to open up my perspectives to truly make a difference for my future students. Nonetheless, my outer appearance is people's immediate perception of who I am, and I fit in the fold of dominance and power without even knowing it. After my experience in ECS 210, my perception of who I am has changed significantly, as I can now see myself as a person in power. Not only do I possess power with my white privilege, I am also in a large position of power by being a teacher molding young minds. When I look at this position of power that I now see myself in after my experience, I can't help but think of the famous Spider-Man quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." ECS 210 has allowed myself to open my perspectives to the complex world of teaching and being a curriculum developer. As I continue on my final reflection, I will explain some of the key concepts that have resonated with me throughout this course, and I'll begin to explain the educator I hope to become after my experience with ECS 210. Through Mike Capello's explanation of uncomfortable learning, I couldn't help but think of the welts and bruises one could face emotionally in doing this. However, I know that I want to be an anti-oppressive educator, and there may be some bumps and bruises along the way, such as the one in my photo, but don't worry. That was simply just a hockey puck. But if I find some educators that have the same goals and aspirations that I do, I know we can work together to fight the injustices in the world, such as the Avengers. Don't worry, these Avengers were simply fighting little campers at Camp Monaghan. So, I entered the class thinking it was going to be a class learning the ins and outs of curriculum. However, I quickly learned that curriculum is much more complex than just the formal curriculum that is placed in teachers' hands. I did not expect so many complexities with curriculum and subsequently the complexities of being an educator who is a curriculum developer. I'm going to explain the different perceptions of curriculum that deeply resonated with me. To begin, curriculum as product. It's a theme we learned about. The curriculum is more focused on the product of the student at the end. I couldn't help but think of a factory worker aiming to have a suitable product by the end. Curriculum as product exemplifies the standardized testing ideology of whether or not a student can answer the preconceived questions of importance as based by the ministry. However, I learned that this is troubling, as each student is an individual with individual needs, and the basis for education and schooling should not be to create the same like-minded individuals, but to create individuals who think differently and uniquely. The next curriculum was curriculum as praxis, which was the curriculum of everything in and outside of school. And curriculum as praxis is all the influence that impacts students inside or outside school. This reminds me that if you were to assume that each stand were climbing a ladder to success, whatever way you deem success, many students would start on the ladder at a different place because of all the outer influences that impact their learning. There is then curriculum as process, which is the curriculum that evaluates and assesses students on their process of learning and achievement, not the end product. I believe physical education truly encompasses curriculum as process well, as it evaluates students on their improvement throughout the semester and not their end result. Curriculum as process is one that allows failure to happen for more enriched learning experiences. Now, the null curriculum is an interesting paradigm that I learned. The null curriculum is a curriculum that isn't taught in school. The stories, histories, or complexities that are deemed as not important as other subjects and content in schools. Through this null curriculum, many people and institutions could be marginalized and oppressed as they are indirectly or directly forgotten and not mentioned through the schooling experience. The last curriculum that resonated deeply with me was curriculum as place. This stems from my teaching philosophy that is deeply rooted in experiential learning. Therefore, I believe curriculum as place is an important ideology and understanding the complexities of being a curriculum developer at a certain place. Some places have different experiences, ideas, and beliefs in the curriculum can be taught in these places differently than others. Curriculum as place resonated deeply with me because it makes me understand that in order for teachers to connect with the students, the teacher needs to connect with the place as well. Treaty education is a relatively new form of curriculum instruction that is alive and well in our schools. Unfortunately, treaty education is often met with negative remarks. For myself, I believe treaty education is one of the best tools to connect the two nations that agreed to share lands many years ago. Treaty education is often met with resistance. However, if the educator can push through this resistance, an enriched and holistic learning experience will undoubtedly ensue. This can be exemplified by the Claire Kruger presentation. These were some of the important curriculum terms that resonated with me deeply, as it was eye-opening to the complexities of curriculum and being a curriculum developer. The next lesson I took way further than ECS 210 class, but in my day-to-day life in teaching philosophy, is the idea of uncomfortable learning. Uncomfortable learning often is met with resistance, and people feel emotions of guilt, pity, sadness, or anger. However, I learned through these experiences that deep learning ensues. I learned this because it happened to me throughout the semester. With the stories told by Mike Capello or Grant Urban, I couldn't help but feel uncomfortable at certain times, but through this uncomfortable learning, I thought about the class longer into the week and started to reflect and examine my perspectives. Through this, I gained a much deeper understanding of the world of teaching and being a curriculum developer. Uncomfortable learning and teaching of controversial issues is often feared by educators, feared because of the problems that could ensue. However, that just goes to show that because it is controversial and feared means that it becomes even more important for educators to teach these issues because it'll better the world as students can start to see the world through multiple perspectives and to start to see the impact that they can make on the world. Butterflies are often the emotion that is elicited through uncomfortable learning. People fear butterflies or are nervous of butterflies when they're in their stomach. But the way I look at it is if teachers can teach students for these butterflies in their stomachs, eventually those butterflies will leave the student and make a beautiful presence on the world. If teachers can see themselves as making that impact, teaching for butterflies will make our world more beautiful. Although it is challenging, the butterflies can lead to the best learning experience for students. This leads me to my future growth as an educator. Before entering this class, I never thought of myself as an anti-oppressive, justice-oriented educator. However, now I am passionate about this venture. I believe I'm now becoming an anti-oppressive educator who wants to teach the controversial issues and foster uncomfortable learning to release more butterflies into the world. The reason I'm moving towards this is because I can finally see myself, a person in power in many ways, as a great catalyst for change that I can use my privilege and my power to give those whose voice was taken away from them and give back their voice. This is my motivation as I begin my journey on becoming a teacher. In addition, I believe technology is a great tool to bring it together to community to work together towards the same cause. I'll now explain some of the tools of technology that I use that truly makes my teaching growth even stronger. So I'm going to move over and go into Twitter here and show you how I'm active on Twitter. I use Twitter throughout the entire semester, connecting with other pre-service teachers or current teachers and discussing the issues that were coinciding with the curriculum. These tweets that are being displayed right now were during the Grant Urban presentation, and this was a really good presentation that really resonated deeply with myself. And it was very strong that Mr. Tanner Brightman at tbrights14 even asked to marry me because my remarks were, I guess, super, super good. Very nice of him to do that. Moving on to my portfolio. This is my portfolio and my blog. So on here was my blog throughout the whole entire semester. Here's my PLN, embedding some of the tweets and my personal experiences. And then also up here on the top, as you can see on the side here, is a lot of my portfolio about who I am and how I'm the teacher that I hope to become. So these are some of the tools that I use to connect with other educators and to make myself into a better, more rounded anti-oppressive educator. So with that being said, anti-oppressive education has now become part of my teaching philosophy. But with that, I believe anti-oppression education needs to be an umbrella through all the subject matter. With that, I'm going to offer a critique of the curriculum as developer assignment done through the course. Although I understood the purpose of the assignment, I believe that isolating the lesson plan specific to an event defeated the purpose of truly becoming an anti-oppressive educator and was not practical for long-term growth. I believe if we want to become anti-oppressive educators, we need to learn how to take core curriculum content and embed anti-oppression through it. In other words, taking, for example, Social Studies 9 curriculum that speaks about Egyptian society and tying in anti-oppressive education through this. I believe this would have been more effective for pre-service teachers to learn how to take the curriculum and mold it into an anti-oppressive lesson rather than having an isolated and separate event. Through this, I've come to my future growth as an educator believing that anti-oppressive education needs to be an umbrella that covers all of the subject matters in education through all of the content. I want to be an educator and curriculum developer that can take the curriculum and mold it in such a way that each lesson has a purpose of anti-oppression while still holding true to the required content. Nevertheless, ECS has taught me a lot. It has taught me to critically examine the curriculum. It has taught me how much power I truly have and the responsibilities that coincide with that. It has taught me that looking at things through multiple perspectives comes to the best approach and understanding. And lastly, ECS 210 has taught me to be a more well-rounded educator and curriculum developer and to be wary of my practices and the effect that I can have, whether it be positive or negative. After taking this course, I now have the motivation to be a curricular developer that creates butterflies and teaches for butterflies for students that makes the world outside each student more beautiful once they can get rid of the butterflies and move towards understanding the complexities of their world and what they can do to make it better. This class has taught me one valuable lesson, that I've changed my teaching philosophy to teach for butterflies, as I believe once there's butterflies that can be released by each individual student, the world will become a much more beautiful place. Thank you for the class, to all the educators. Thank you for the students for sharing in this experience, and I wish you all the best in your future growth. Have a great Christmas break.